I bought one on kind of a lark just because I was curious about them. And as soon as I started working with them, I knew that this was going to be a really valuable sketch tool. And one of the reasons why is because it constantly is an exploration in your pressure holding. So like, for example, the more you put down pressure, the more your line becomes thicker. The less pressure you put down and the more delicate touch, the finer that line. And so I love sketching for all of its opportunities to explore and think about things. But I also love sketching as a means of just being an opportunity to maybe hone a skill, such as like brush holding and the pressure I'm using, and getting more attuned to those delicate nuances of touch, while at the same time it not being anything that has to have like really strict outcome. This is all play. It's an opportunity to explore. Another thing I really love about sketching is that you don't have to complete a sketch in your sketchbook over like in one day. You can come back to it, especially if you're working from images from an iPhone. And so, for example, this sketch was completed over 2 days when I had approximately 10-15 minutes each day. And it's really an easy way to up your... It's actually really an easy way to spread out your drawings without making the idea of doing sketching as something that needs to be, it doesn't have to be completed in one time. It helps, I think, overcome some of our, at least my own, preconceived ideas about that this has to be done this way. Sketching is an opportunity to really start to invite variety into your life and also creativity. I would say, the more you sketch, the easier it becomes. The more you sketch, the more you start to learn what you like. And I really want to encourage you, when you are sketching, to find the things that you really like about it. And also not to just get too upset or disappointed when your drawings or your sketches do not turn out the way you had hoped or anticipated. And if, say, for example, you had at one time several years ago a practice of sketching on a regular basis, and then you're deciding to get back into it, but you're finding that you're not at the skill level as you were previously, that comes with the territory. And instead of like being very upset at like where you lost maybe some of your previous skills, instead really take time to investigate how fortunate you are that you're getting back into it. I think sketching is one of those skills that the more you do, the easier it gets. The more easier it gets, the more fun you have. And just to find ways to always reinforce the fun. And yeah, that's one of my big encouragements too for you, is to always think about how sketching can really add to your life, and in a way that is cumulative. Sketching is an opportunity to really connect with what's going on in the seasons and in the day-to-day, and just making the most of it. In my PDF on how to start a sketchbook habit, I talk about how that there's 4 easy steps to get started with a sketchbook habit. And I thought I would expand on them a little bit here too. So when you have the desire to start a sketchbook habit, what I really want to encourage you to explore is just to get started. There is no perfect time for when is the best time to sketch and to start sketching. And instead, I really want to encourage you to just do it. Just begin any day. Start today. And then I will also want to encourage you to set a minimum baseline for yourself. And so, for example, what is my minimum baseline for sketching? My minimum baseline is that there are times when I'm just really tired and I have a lot on my plate, and I don't have more than a few minutes before the end of the day. And I do like to sketch at the end of the day because I find that it does help me unwind and relax a bit and then go to sleep. And I have a minimum baseline is that I have to lay in some hatch marks. And one of the reasons why I use hatch marks as my minimum baseline is that with sketching, it is regular practice that really hones your skills and gets you to where you start to feel exceptionally comfortable with having that pen or pencil in your hand. And so by setting an intention of that, on the days that I don't have time to actually work on a drawing or a true actual sketch, I will just lay down a couple of hatch marks, parallel lines or curved lines, and just play with how my pencil or my pen is dragging along the sheet of paper that I am. And that, it works fantastically. And then my next tip is to use your iPhone or use your smartphone to gather information when you're out and about, something that you find interesting, or you're like, oh my gosh, that would be a good drawing, a good sketch, and snap it and take a quick photo, because what that does is that enables you to really gather the information. So that way, when you have time to sketch in the evening, or you've got 5-10 minutes, you have a whole library of reference images that are your own. So therefore, you are exploring and expanding your own creative artistic voice, and they're obviously things that you are interested in. And I would just say, get started and get sketching. And then my final tip is to look for evidence and how the sketching habit is bringing you pleasure and joy. It's by finding the examples of the pleasure and joy that sketching brings into your life, it will make it so much easier to make sketching a habit, because you will be anchoring with the thoughts of how sketching is good for you, how sketching adds a beneficial part. It brings joy and pleasure, and it's benefiting you on a day-to-day basis. The more you think about maintaining a sketchbook habit is good for you, the more you identify with this habit, and so therefore it becomes a part of who you are. And then it makes it just so much easier to keep at it. And then it maximizes your artistic voice. And I think that is one of the most wonderful side effects of keeping a sketchbook, is that as you sketch on a regular basis, you start to feel more connected with what it is that you're drawing, with what you're sketching. And I just think that your life and everybody's life is benefited by bringing art into the world. And to me, art is about creating connection and creativity with those around us, and you're doing that by taking the time to draw and explore what you find interesting and beautiful in this world. So one last thing about this the materials I used in this sketchbook. I am using a moleskin sketchbook, which I absolutely love the tooth and texture of the paper. It has a pale cream color undertone to it, which is really nice. And then I also really love how the surface of the paper is very smooth and just takes pencil and pen very well. With this sketchbook, I started with a 0.5 mechanical pencil, and then I created like kind of the basis, kind of the first lines for the flowers to kind of make sure that they were fitting well on the page and everything. However, as I was finishing up the drawing, I started to just draw freehand with my Kuratake fountain brush pen. And I find that happens a lot, is that after you've been drawing and you've gotten very familiar with your subject matter, it becomes a lot easier to work kind of more freehand with ink. Now, ink drawing, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to, if you want to really grow in your ability to observe and to make judgments and just kind of like overall improve your mark making, draw and sketch with ink, because of the added challenge that with ink you can't erase it. It makes your mind engage at just a slightly more enhanced level, which then starts to train your eye-hand coordination to a level of a little bit more accuracy. I'm not saying that you have to always be 100% accurate. I like to test my skills and test my ability to make a more accurate drawing, just because it just creates another level of engagement. And sometimes that's just really wonderful to have that emotional and mental engagement into a drawing. And as I was finishing this sketch, I started to take liberties in the way the flowers interacted in the page. It's all done in freehand, and I really just did that just for exploration. I wasn't really trying to control anything, and I just knew that it would just make for a fun completion of the drawing. And like you'll see in this sketch of the chamomile flowers, that I used a variety of mark making. I relied heavily on just the value of line. Line is the most important aspect of the drawing. I hatched in some of the three-dimensionality of the yellow center of the chamomile flower to create a textural difference between the line, the very linear line quality of the petals and the stems, while just playing and exploring. And I think that's one of the fun things about drawing, is that it gives you an opportunity just to create and explore. So I hope you have enjoyed this sketch, and just, and it encourages you to go out as well and sketch some more, because that is where exploration and your creative sense has an opportunity to grow. If you're interested in drawing this chamomile sketch, I encourage you to sign up for my PDF on how to start a sketchbook habit. That is where I provide the reference photo for this drawing. And yeah, I really encourage you to go out there and start a sketchbook habit, explore and enjoy the variety, and also enjoy the unknown benefits that are going to happen once you pick up a sketchbook habit, a sketching habit.